loolu moo fi nekk ñi fi niveau yi fi nekk it catégorie yëpp a ngi fi umpale woon ne am na ndaw ñoo xam ne fii lañ jàngee ba mokkal alxuraanul karim ñu ngi fii jiite naa fi la sa doom ji doom la woon ci ñooñu la bokk. am na ñoo xam ne jàng nañ Sénégal ba ñëw fii di jàngale Cheikh Abdoul Qadir mais ci la bokk. am na ñoo xam ne ñu ngi ci yoon war a mokkal alxuraan sëy bi di la dalal ci alxuraan ci la bokk. am nañ ci yaakaar mi ngi ci yoon jege na trop. am na ñoo xam ne ñu ngi fii di defaraat seen alxuraan comme ngoone si mokkaloon na alxuraan Sénégal ñëw fii di defaraat alxuraan am ak yi ni mel. bu loolu weesoo it xale yu jigéen yi lañ fi bokkal nekk ñi fiy jàngale yi ñi si ëpp ci daara ji lañ jàngee. ku mel na soxna Oumy mais ñooñu fi jàngalekat yi fi nekk yëpp ci daara ji lañ jàngee kon ñi fi nekk ñëpp daal suñu doom lañ ba ci man mii ndax umpalewu leen ne xam ngeen sama waajur bu baax a baax seen xarit la seen wëllëre la kon ci gàttal doomu muudu laa dama koy faral di wax te di ci proud pour dama bëgg muudu yi xam ne war nañoo mën a am luñ bëgg ci dëkk bi kon doomu muudu pur laa Serigne Moussa Mbaye mooy sama baay bis bi ki tey la nelawoon fukki fan ak juróom-ñeent ci weeru koor bis ni ki tey la nelawoon kon na ngeen ko ñaanal bu baax a baax kon li ma bëgg a wax rek mooy nekkal doomu ku la neex waaye fexeel ba nekk doomu lislaam sama baay bu day dawal avion pilote la lu man di doon yow fexeel ba nekk doomu lislaam rek suñu waajur ku baax la woon ñëpp xam nañ ko waaye alhamdulilah sant nañ ci kon nekk doomu moodu nekk doomu immigré yooyu yëpp amul solo li am solo mooy yow nga fexe ba nekk doomu lislaam comme ni nga xamee ne noonu loolu la ko waxoon inna al fata man yaqulu ha anana wa laysa al fata man yaqulu kaana abi kon daara jaa ngi nii tey sa daara la yaa fi imam bi yaa fi ustaas bi yaa fi teacher bi xale yaa ngi ni say xale lañ tàmbalee ko ci man ak ñi ma ànd ñëpp ci liggéey bi ginnaaw ubbee alquranul karim ñëpp yow la ñuy déglu insha allah jërëjëf ñu ngi leen di dalal Baye Baba Diaw Serigne Babacar Ndaw suñu papa Serigne Mbaye Gningue ñoo ngi leen di dalal yàlla defal tawfiq defal leen tawafuq bàyyi leen suñu kanam ay at yu bare ngeen nañuy dimbale ci diine l'islam ci bismillah solo ko danga ko taalal fii dégg nga fay
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون صدق الله العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Happy Ramadan to all of and each of you. We are so proud and so happy to be among you today. This lecture, it is about you. It's about you. It's about what you can be and what can you do for yourself, what can you do for your family, what can you do for your Islam, what can you do for the world in the future. That's why I'm saying this is for you. I'm here to introduce Dr. Mbaye Gningue to you. Dr. Mbaye Gningue holds a bachelor's degree of mathematics from the University of Dakar in Senegal. And he also has a master's degree in mathematics education from Lehman College and another master's of philosophy in mathematics education from Columbia University. And also he holds a PhD in mathematics education from Columbia University. He has been a member of the faculty at Lehman College since 1999, earning the rank of full professor in 2016. Dr. Gningue has had an outstanding track record as a mathematics teacher, a mentor, an educator, an educational researcher, and an academic leader. Dr. Gningue was an effective teacher as he taught mathematics to students in middle school and developed a mathematics success summer program for District 10 in the Bronx in his early professional career. The direct and positive impact he had on the school community and especially on the children he taught led the school to name the mathematics medal given to the most outstanding students of Thomas C. Giardiano Middle School, which is called MS-45. Each year, they call that medal, which they give them each year, they name it to Dr. Gningue. They call it Dr. Gningue Mathematics Medal as an honor to him, which they are giving to the students every year. Dr. Gningue has published many journal articles and books chapters and topics related to mathematics teaching and mathematics teacher preparation. As the principal investigator, which they call PI, he received $1.2 million grant from the National Science Foundation to support an innovative program that prepare STEM teachers, STEM. They call it STEM teachers. He received $1.2 million for that program for high-need schools. He also served as a co-PI on 2 major grants in preparing STEM teachers and mathematics teacher leader for a total of close to $7 million in grant funding to Lehman College. He made significant contribution to the research on teacher preparation and implementation of the program. In 2014, he was elected as the chair of the Department of Middle and High School Education in Lehman College, taking the leadership role as an academic leader. He is now serving as the interim associate dean of School of Education in Lehman College. Dr. Gningue, not only that in his career he worked, he served very actively in our community. He was the vice president of the Harlem Islamic Cultural Center, which is called Daaray El Hadji Malick for years, more than 10-15 years. And he's still active as the vice president of the Daaray El Hadji Malick radiallahu anhu. Dr. Gningue is an imam. He delivered the khutbah in English in Zawi El Haj Malik Sy every Friday. And he's the president of the Alpha Travel Hajj and Umrah. Alpha Travel Hajj and Umrah is the commission that takes the Senegalese people to make a pilgrimage every year. He is the co-founder who created that program, which is very successful in our community. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gningue, who will talk about African-born children challenges and success in schools and society. He will be talking about African-born children's challenges and successes in U.S. schools and society. That's what he will be talking about. Welcome, Dr. Gningue. I'll be passing the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you, Haji Baba. Assalamu alaikum. Right now I'm torn between speaking Wolof or English. Thank you. But I will stick to the English, but I will also mix it up with Wolof, inshallah, so that you get the sense. And I will try to be very simple in the English that I will talk, so you understand. And usually when somebody gives my introduction, I don't talk about everything. But because you are special, you are our children, I want you to know out there are people like me, there are people above me, there are people who are in the sphere of education, who are successful in the US, despite all the challenges that I'm going to talk about today. I know many of you were born in Africa and brought here and started school here, right? I know many of you were born here, but of African parents, and you went to school. And when you are asked, who are you? What do you say? One at a time. You say, I'm Senegalese. What does it show? Okay, that you are proud to be Senegalese because you are something else. What else are you besides Senegalese? African. A woman. Muslim. I heard it. American. I heard something else. Black. But which one? The one that comes first to you as your answer was not black, right? Why wasn't it black?
Because we consider ourselves as Africans.
Yes.
It's not black because first off, black is putting us in necessarily. It kind of classifies us as people when naturally we're not trying to classify ourselves. We're trying to belong to our ourselves. So whenever someone asks me, "What are you?" I answer with I'm African or I'm Senegalese because deep down inside, I don't belong to America's definition of black or African American. I belong to an African society. I belong to Senegal. So at the end of the day, if I say I'm black, then in this society, black people are not treated with respect, and nor are African people. But if I say I'm African, I still have somewhere to go back to, somewhere I can call home, somewhere I can return to. And even if American society disrespects me, I have somewhere to go back to and someone to help me clean my wounds.
Thank you. Wonderful. Nice answer. Were you born here, by the way?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Terrific. Great answer. However, I'm looking at you. Will I say that you are white? No. Why not? Because it's evident, right? I can see you and say that you're black. So usually it is an answer that would not come to you immediately because it's evident. It's right there. I don't need to say it. but I'm Senegalese or I'm African, you need to reaffirm that. By the way, I'm black doesn't mean that you are American. Because you have African American who are black, and you have African American who are from overseas, like in Africa, they also black. So it doesn't mean that you are necessarily African American. But again, what else can you say in terms of who are you, your identity?
Student.
You're a student, yes, it's a classification. You're a kid, a child. So you said that you were Senegalese, you were black, you were African, you were American, you were Muslim. Now, what does it mean to be in Senegal? Let's say you were in Senegal and somebody asks you, who are you? What would you say? This is the part that I think is missing for you.
You mean immigrant?
No, you are in Senegal. Let's say you were in Senegal, there, and you had nothing to do with US, and you are asked, who are you? What would you say?
I would say my name. I would say who my person.
Yes, just the same question I asked you. Yes.
But the problem is, once you go to Senegal, they start to, and if you say you're from America and you're in Senegal, they start to push that American. They say like, oh, you're American, you're American. They push it on you.
Right.
So if you say the Senegalese, they're gonna be like, oh, well, where are you from? And you have to say, oh, I'm from the U.S. And they're supposed to say you're American. That's what it is.
Okay, so I understand, maybe the question is not well understood. If I'm in Senegal, if I ask my friend and partner Ash Baba, who are you? And he's in Senegal, he would say what?
I'm Baba.
I'm Baba, okay? Or there are other classifications in Senegal. Yes? Well, you could say I'm Murid, or I'm Tijani, Layen. Oh, you could say also that you are Peul or Salum Salum. I like that answer, Salum Salum. What else exists in Salum? Serer, Jola. Right, so you see there are so many different classifications that one can use in order to identify self. But which one is more prevalent? Which one has the highest? Muslim, right? We believe that. I do believe that Muslim is the highest of all of those. Even though it's not the one that right away jumped to your mind. Because your first answer was Senegalese. But then, within Senegal, you would say, oh, I am Sere. Or you would say, I'm Jolof Jolof. I am Baol Baol. I am Salum Salum. Right? So all those classifications exist. And by the way, each one of those classifications carries something else. Carries something that defines you as a person. I don't believe you know that yet, because you are not aware of those classifications, because you live here in the US. If in my workplace, when I ask African American, who are you, where are they from, they talk to me about, oh, I'm from the South, or I'm from Boston, the North, or I'm from LA. That's what they say. So they use a region, and each one of those carry a certain number of characteristics that define them in the way they do things, in the attitude, and in the way they face challenges in schools. Because there are many, 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 many challenges that you face. You have us as parents, for you, have one of the most difficult tasks in raising you. And you know why? Why do you think it's difficult for us as parents to raise you in this country? Yes?
You wasn't raised from the same environment.
Thank you. Yes?
Because a lot of the times, the culture from here is different from Senegal, and that's what they know. what they accept there with some people don't accept here, so it's kind of like hard to balance.
Wonderful. Great answers. Yes. The cultures are different. How people and children are raised in Senegal is completely different to how children are raised here in the US. So, your parents face those challenges. You do face challenges as well. What are they? What are some of those? I'm going to talk about them. Yes.
You're not seen as fully American in America.
You are not seen as fully American in America. By whom?
By the outsiders, the African Americans. And then in the African community, you're not seen as fully Senegalese.
You see what is at play here? On one side, the Senegalese don't consider you as fully Senegalese. And on the other side, the African American or the school system does not consider you as full African American. So they don't consider you as full African American on one side, and on the other side, they do not consider you as full Senegalese or Guinean or Malian or from those countries. So what they do, so you are in the middle. Your parents are torn. Sometimes they want to raise you one way within the house, but you go to school, you find another way that children act and react. And you are torn. You want to go with your friends, play in the park playground. What do your parents say? No, it's not safe. If you happen to go and play in the playground, what happens? The kids there don't accept you, do they? Maybe, yes, maybe not, right? Sometimes. I was a teacher before I got my PhD and started teaching in college. And believe me, did I face challenges myself as an adult? You've had African teachers? Those who have, not everybody may not, but some of you might have, right? What do you hear from the other students, how they characterize them and what they talk to them about? Is the same thing that they talk to you about, and so on. Not all is bad. So we're going to get into the details in a minute. What helped me face those challenges, because when I first came here, I did not automatically become a teacher. I have to go work in factories. I have to go work in restaurants and go to school at night. I needed to work in order to pay for school. Do you know the challenges that your parents faced? And then when I had children, I wanted to raise them in the best possible way as I was raised in Senegal. But at the same time, I knew that the school system had another way of teaching them. And that conflict, I had to manage it. Be in between. How? And that's the same problem that your parents face. Whether they know how to manage it or not, they face it. We all do. What are the main problems of American societies today? The main issues? Yes?
American society seems very racist, or they're politically opposing.
Yes, that's part of the problem. Racism is part of the problem. Political differences in views, violence is part of the problem, yes. Islamophobia is one of them. And that's another reason why when you are asked, who are you? Most would not say, I'm Muslim, directly. You could see them, yes? See?
Social diversity.
Social diversity, yes? Inequalities, yes? Economic disparities. When you watch TV every night, what do you see? Let's say you watch Eyewitness News or right or Fox News, or what kind of news do they bring? Yes, violence. Yes. Anti-immigration, drugs, violence, right? Guns, and many issues. Some of them are caused by poverty. Some of them are caused by parental divorce, single parents families. You have children that are traumatized. There are so many issues that we face. We have teen pregnancies, abuse of children, of spouses, all of that we face in today's society in America. And even, I would not even say America alone, I would say also around the world. Those are issues. And those issues are magnified through social media, right? Through technology. Technology is good, but it brings other aspects that's not good in a sense. I don't know how many times I have to fight with my children. I bought them cell phone. They need it. Okay, you need it. When I was here, I did not need a cell phone. However, now everybody needs it. Now, I want to know what's in it. They say no. It's a violation of privacy. I say it's not private. It's private if it's yours. This is mine. I gave it to you. I bought it with our own money. You've heard that before?
Yes.
Okay. And I need the password. I want to know. Why would you be offended by that? Why are you offended? Why, if your parents ask you that, you're offended? Yes.
Because America teaches you that everyone has liberty and everyone should secure their privacy from a very young age, even as a child.
Because you've been taught that. That's the concept of privacy taught in the schools. And you learn that. So you are getting characteristic of American society without knowing it. It's being taught to you. Unconsciously you say, no, I don't want my parents to know what's in my cell phone. Well, are you hiding something? You're hiding something, and that's part of the problem. Yes? Even if you're not hiding anything, you would feel that your parents should not have it. And why do you think your parents want to have it, want to know? Yes. To keep you safe. So why would you refuse being kept safe by telling your parents no? Why? You understand why they're doing it. They want it, right? It's for your benefit. Do you think they really want to know what's on your phone? Yeah, maybe yes, okay. But it is to, again, educate you, right? It is to educate you. So, these contradictions create a lot of what we call psychological battle for you. Mostly for you. Your parents don't have that psychological battle because they did their lives. It's not up to you to make it. But you are children. Like any children, you cannot see the future, what's in front of you. That's why they're there to protect you, to want to make sure that you are not getting into trouble with the outside. And you are not addicted to some of the games. Or You are not being abused in a relationship. Or somebody else is not abusing you, whether it's a classmate or threatening you or doing things to you, and you don't want your parents to know. I know what goes on in the school playground. I know what goes on in the cafeteria. I know what goes on in the classroom and what you face.
I have something to say. So you were asking why do a lot of people refuse to give their phone password or anything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have seen kids, right? When their parents ask them for their password, they give it to them, and some they don't. But I think at the same time it has to do with the relationship they have in between. You know what I'm trying to say? Like how comfortable they are with each other, or like how close the parents keep between them two, or like how
open they are.
How open they are to each other. I think that really matters, and that's where a lot of parents fail to know or to get information from their kids, because they are not open to them.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem starts always.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Yes? 100%? Yes? Yeah.
Because that each society has so many differences, and coming from a Senegal society and raising a child in an American society is so different. When you put those things, in America there's also a big emphasis on the trust and commitment between two people. So if you have a child and a parent, in America they kind of level them out on the same level, and they say the child and parent are on the same level. Whereas in Senegal they say that a child and a parent are two different levels, and a child should always look up and respect to a parent. That's not enforced here in America. Whenever a parent says, "Oh, can I see your phone?" Something, that lack of trust and the fact that Senegalese parents tend not to build up that trust with their children, then kids just start to feel threatened and feel as if they hold no importance in their parents' heart.
Thank you. By the way, I'm not blaming you, the children. I know what parents do that's wrong too. Okay, because when your parents tells you something and you want to respond, what do they tell you? Don't talk back to me.
Yes.
Don't talk back to me, right? Buma tontu, huh? Yes. Okay, why? Well, it's part of our culture. I do it. I tell you, my older daughter understands that so well. And my younger daughter and my other, whenever we enter a discussion, she tells them, wait, don't respond, don't say anything until later. And that's what she's always done. She would come to me later and say, but Daddy, do you know? And once she says that, but Daddy, do you know that this, and once she says that, guess what? She won. Because then we have a discussion. Then it's no longer don't talk back to me. Okay, so the tone matters, how we talk to our parents matters. The timing matters. And she gives me the opportunity to raise her right. So, and sometimes that lacks from the children. But the parents, have to have a better understanding also of how to do it. Anyway, it's on both sides, it's on both ways, and it's part of the challenges that we face here, part of the barriers that we face here growing into the schools. Some of the problems that we have in schools that parents don't want us engaged, don't want children to be engaged in. Boyfriend, girlfriend, romantic pair. Sometimes those things start early, even in preschool. You start seeing it. Use of profanities. Whether it's spoken or whether it's written in the walls, on desk, blackboard, you see it all over. Smoking. You have children that start smoking very early. They hide it to their parents. Rough behavior, laughing, talking. You go to school, you find all of these in the schools. Dressing, the way boys dress, the way girls dress. And as, again, somebody who's in between, you tend to want to say, I want to feel that I belong, right? And then you try to say, look at this, how they dress. How come I can't dress like them? And you are torn. Gangs in the schools, in the classrooms, in the neighborhoods. It's real. Peer pressure. Why do I have to wear this way? Why can't I wear this and go to school? Because I feel kids will laugh at me. Why can't I dress a certain way? Why can't I talk a certain way? And what makes it worse is that the system doesn't help. African culture is not taught in the schools. Okay, I'll get to those quotes later on. You know, African, for instance, in the schools, when I first came here, my students were telling me, okay, do you live in trees in Africa? If I live in trees like they see in the movies. Do you have buildings? Do you have cars? How did you get here? These were the children. These were the children asking me those questions. And then, even I had, just to tell you, all depends on the level of education. I have some of them who thought that I was Chinese because my name sounds like Chinese. Gningue. Yeah, they were playing with that. One of my colleagues, and I'm going to get into now some of the details of things that you're going to hear because I'm pretty sure many of you might have lived it or seen it. One of my colleagues, who was a professor of literacy, did a study. Do you know what a study is? A research study where she interviewed kids in school, and she called it, in fact, I took this title from her book, African-Born Children in the US. And I wrote a chapter in that book. I wrote a chapter that's called It Takes a Village. Do you know that term, it takes a village? Yes. What is it? It takes a village to raise a child. Do you know who wrote it? Who first said it? Where did you hear it from? Right. Hillary Clinton wrote a book about it. But Hillary Clinton, she wrote a book about it called It Takes a Village. But in fact, It Takes a Village was written by Amadou Hampâté Bâ, who was one of the most famous writers in African literature. Amadou Hampâté Bâ. I think he was from Guinea, Senegal. Mm-hmm. He was from Guinea. It Takes a Village. So that's how I titled it. And to talk about my origin, my trajectory, and how the different support system helped me, because I was not able to do it alone. Get to this point. And one of which, for instance, my uncle is the one who arranged for me to come here in the US. And I lived with him for 5 years. And I recall one day, because when I got my bachelor degree in mathematics from the University of Dakar, I had 2 options, or 3. One was to go to Ivory Coast, the other was to go to Gabon, the other was to come here. The other 2, I was to go there to teach mathematics because they were paying a lot of money. Senegal was not paying a lot of money. And yet Senegal paid for my education, but they did not pay a lot of money. So I wanted to go there because 80% of my friends went there. 80% of my friends with whom I graduated from the college in Dakar went either to Ivory Coast or to Gabon at that time to teach mathematics. So I came here to go to school. So I came, but then there were issues, there were problems, money problems. How do I pay for college? Because nothing is free here. I wasn't lucky like you to be born American who could get scholarships and so on. So I had to pay everything on my own. So I needed to work. But the work was too hard. I never worked in Senegal other than doing tutoring and getting paid. I was just a student. And I decided that I was going to go join my friends because I missed them, number one. And number two, the work was so hard here. And I felt it was too dangerous here. You know, I lived in the Bronx. I was working at night in a factory. And I was saying, what am I doing here? I have a bachelor's degree, you know, in mathematics. I can do or be anywhere, and I'm here. I could have stayed in Senegal. So in my mind, I decided that I would go to Senegal, to Ivory Coast. All my friends had bought houses by then because they made so much money there, and we were exchanging letters. So my uncle tells my father and says, Mbaye wants to come back and go. I have that letter my father wrote to me and said, stay where you are. African countries are very unstable. He wrote it in French. This was in 1987. He wrote it. He says, African countries are very unstable. Stay there. Opportunities will come. Everybody begins with difficulties. Nothing is easy. You just have to persevere. Guess what? I listened to him. I did not go. I stayed. I stayed. I got my papers, started getting better jobs, started working, got a teacher's license, and started teaching. Got time, would go to Senegal back and forth. But the one thing that was in my mind and brain was my PhD. I had to get it. I came here for it. I have to get it. And I never stopped. So listening to parents is one of those characteristics that defines one who is from Africa, that defines someone who is a Muslim, that defines someone who's from Senegal, that defines somebody who's a Murid, that defines somebody who's a teacher, that defines somebody who's a Baul, somebody who's a Jolof, somebody who's a Serer, because that's what we learn, that's what we know. Ndigal, suñuy parents, we are raised to listen to them. When your parents tell you something, you never tell me that your parents hate you. No. Your parents love you. They want the best out of you. We want the best out of you. When Obama became president, weren't you proud? You were proud because of many reasons. You were proud because he was an African-born child. Or I shouldn't say he was African-born, because you know what made the actual president is because he was saying that Obama was not born in America, but he had, he's from parents who are born in Africa. At least one of the parents, his father. But who do you think was the proudest? African American were proud, African were proud, but people from Kenya were the proudest because they felt that this was their son who became president of the most powerful country in the world. So who you are is a marker. Those markers, you cannot ignore them. They're there regardless of you or us wanting them or not. So my friend wrote this book, and she had a chapter in which she interviews children, African-born children, and African children in the schools. And this is, I'm going to talk about, say these quotes, what they say, what the children said. One child thought that the teacher was, spoke to her in a very inappropriate way. As she said, the teacher, she looks down on the Congo. I seriously don't like someone insulting Africa. This was the reaction, of this African-born child, student. Some of the students felt that they were misunderstood by their own teachers also. Because, he said, they come and do their job. They don't ask you, how do you feel in school? And I think they don't care about that at all. So this is how they felt, that the teachers who were talking to them, did not really care about them African. They also felt that there was what they call a double standard. It's like you are paying a double penalty for the same mistake as another American child. And this is how she said it. I fought with a girl, there was this time, I fought with a girl because she called me immature. Yes. I was suspended, and she wasn't. How many of you have seen that? Yes, right? The girl was suspended because they fought, and they fought because she called her immature, and she was suspended. The other child was not. Then my parents came to school to ask why I was suspended and not knowing the one who started it. The school principal said, this is not acceptable. And she's saying that this was unfair. For her, the fight wasn't acceptable. However, the punishment was just on one child, not on both. And the African child thought that it was unfair. It was because he was African. You can stop me and ask me a question or tell me things, because I know that things happen in the cafeteria. I know that things happen because I stood in cafeteria and watched kids for lunch duty. When I was a teacher, I taught for 10 years, your age group. And I knew exactly what was going on. So I helped a lot of kids get out of trouble as well. My daughter went to the school in the Bronx, and she was being abused by a child, bullied by a group of 2 Spanish girls. If she sits here, they would come and tell her, get up. And she would get up. And one day I kind of picked up the conversation. I wasn't in the school, but I kind of picked up the conversation that she was having with my son. I was driving. I stopped the car and said, when was this happening? He said, oh, no, Daddy, nothing's happening. She was hiding it from me. I said, what do you mean nothing? It looks like somebody is bullying you or abusing you because of who you are, and you are saying nothing. He says, no, Dad, that's not a problem. These things happen. It's with your children. It's in the school, and so on. I said, okay. I will then go talk to the principal. Why are you laughing? Huh? What would happen? She told me, Daddy, it would get worse. Don't do it. I said, You are suffering right now. Yeah, no, I'm not suffering. It's okay. I said, no. I know what's going on there. Children, they get under this type of pressure, and they say nothing. They don't tell their parents because they're afraid that it will escalate and the children will, continue to bully them. So I said, no, something needs to be done. Either you fix it yourself or I fix it. And how I fix it, I go see the principal. And they're going to pull that child and call their parents and say, this is happening, don't do it. I remember because I was a child too. And I had kids, to whom I used to give money every day to have peace. Right? To have peace. It's called peer pressure. Ragal? Why look at that? Yalla lu mu bëgg a defar rek. Fix it on my own. Because the person abused it too much. And I beat him up and realized that I could beat him up. He left me alone. I did not try to pay back. But these are kids, things that children go through. Whether it's the Daaray here, I saw some action earlier, and I was telling them, it's the Daaray. Same thing happened in the school. But here, it's more dangerous though, if it happens in American schools, because of all the other factors. In Senegal, it's not as dangerous, but here you have so many other factors because they can push you to do something that you don't want to. They could push one to use drugs. They could push one to do activities that are not safe, that are not good, that are anti-Islamic. Just for bullying. So those things are more dangerous here. Or to get guns, or to sell drugs for them. Back in the 80s, I had students who were selling drugs. And I knew it. Guess what? It wasn't my problem. I ignored it completely. It wasn't my problem. You make it a problem, you get the consequences. So these things, and I knew what they were doing to other children. And the school knew it. Why didn't they do something about it? They ended up cleaning it in their way, but, so things like that happen. However, you have to know how to stand, how to react to it. Other kids call them names. This is another one, another son who's talking here. He's saying that other kids call them names. I had a problem with my children and then they were calling him monkey. This is the parents talking because he's black. I heard that too, by the way. But as a teacher, you look the other way. You have a way of, because if you make it a problem, it will get worse. Right? And as a teacher also, that these kids, they don't know anything, and they're children. To me, children are children. You have to teach them through education. That is how you fix things. At the end, I wouldn't say I was the most loved teacher there. It doesn't matter. They did not see my origin. They did not see where I came from. And that's why they named that medal after me. They did not see it because these children were coming to me to get help. And they were being successful. The kids were graduating and attending the specialized high school, and I was helping them to do that. I have many of the children later on who went to college and majored in mathematics and told me that they majored in mathematics because of me. So things like that, made me believe that everything that they did early on, it's just games. They play, and you just have to know and learn. As a teacher, that's what I teach teachers in education, how to handle kids, how to work with them, how to make them be their friends. you spoke earlier about parents, that level. It has to be bilateral, meaning it has to go both ways between the parent and the child. They have to trust each other. They have to have that commitment of trust, of love. However, again, trust does not exclude verification. Trust does not exclude verification. Comment on dit ça en français again? La confiance n'exclut pas le contrôle. Trust does not exclude that. You have to verify. If you love your child, you have to go and verify what she's up to. I had once a child who was in my class, and one day we were talking. He says, "Mr. Gningue, do you watch The Honeymooners? Do you know that show, The Honeymooners, with Ralph Crandon? It's one of those oldies, but the show is run at 2 a.m. I said, "Wow." He said, "Oh yeah, I watch it every night." I said, "You watch it every night?" His name was Michael, but I won't say his last name. And he said, "Yeah, I have a TV in my home, in my room." I said, now I know why you don't do your homework." Okay. Do your parents know that you stay up 2 a.m. and watch The Honeymooners? He says, "Oh, no, they're going to kill me if they knew." I said, "Well, they will kill you because I'm going to tell them." "Oh, no, Mr. Gningue. I will do whatever you want, but please don't tell them." I said, "Okay, whatever I want homework every day done in math." "Yes, you will have it." "I want homework every day in science." "That's not your subject." I said, "I don't care. You have to." "I want your homework done in all the subject area, and I'm going to check that." You know what he did? He would stay after school with the other group and do his homework before going home every day. Smart, because I was there at the time. School finishes at 3, but I stayed until 5. And the principal allowed me, and the kids came, and they were doing homework, and they were working. Because at 5, I had to go and drive to Columbia. That's where I was doing my PhD. So this is how, and I would do it every day, Monday through Thursday. So that created a bond between me and the children, and trust, because they would come and tell me things that they don't tell their parents. They don't. My own children don't tell me everything that happens in school. And maybe it's my fault. They tell their mom, but they don't tell me. "Oh, if daddy knew it, you know what he's going to do." They think I'm going to go straight to the school, or I'm going to do something, or so that would make it worse. Things like that. So, this is the girl still relating this story. So they were calling him Monkey because he was black. And he was so mad, and instead of suspending only the kids who were making trouble, they suspended my child and then the other kids still going to school. The next day, he came to the same problem. My son was mad and he hit that kid. You see how the issue escalates. Because of unfair treatment, now that kid is thinking of hitting the other child, which is wrong, by the way. I don't hit any child. I will tell you what I told my daughter, to fix that problem. And he says, "Yeah, they call him black, they call him monkey, call him you ugly, blah, blah, blah. And also the teacher, there is something going on around here. They don't try to punish, they only punish our kids, not the other children." And this is how parents feel. Whether it's wrong or right, that's how they feel about those issues. I'm sorry. Another child thought that the teachers were, humiliating them. Because he asked a question. Okay? I raised my hand and was called for answer. I answered the question. The teacher looked at me with a confused face and went on to tell me that she didn't understand what I was saying. I repeated myself slowly, and thereafter she told me that my accent was really thick and hard to understand. So a few students laughed, and I felt like vanishing from the room. Because this is the action of a teacher who, I would say this is a mistreatment of a child. Another male teacher put me on the spot. He couldn't understand my accent. He called me to the front of the class and told me to write what I said on the board. I was beyond embarrassed and mortified. I nervously walked to the front of the class, wrote my statement, and rushed back to my seat. It was the last time I answered any question with more than a few words. So, those type of responses, what does it do? Okay, what does it do to the child? The child withdraws completely from whatever was going on. Now, what happens next? The child goes home and never tells parents. But they become nervous, or they don't want to go to school. They don't feel like going. The parents ask them why. They say, oh, nothing. They keep it within. It isn't good. Don't discuss, don't talk about it. Some of them stop going to school, especially at the high school level. They don't want to go to school. The grades go down. The parents come to school upon school night, and the teacher says your child doesn't do anything in class. And that teacher is the one who created that issue, that problem. The other children were the one who created that problem. But I can forgive the other children, but not the teacher. And the only thing that could save you as a child is know who you are. Being determined, and you will see it in the answers that follow from some of the children, how they fought back against everything that went on. Because it's the system. What can you do? You have a group of children, you are one or two. You cannot go and change it that way. Even though it's changing now because of the diversity that's happening more and more in the schools and more in the American society. Some of them feel like because they're from Africa, the teachers and everybody else think that they're uneducated, or the level of education they bring here is not the same as the one they find here. While you mostly are much better in the classroom than a lot of the kids who were born here. Here is another one, and this is sometimes things that happen. A child brought from Ghana, and he was surprised to find that his father had married another woman.
Wow.
Nothing wrong with that, as long as the father could accept him. But then the woman did not accept him. So, and the woman was African American, and he ended up living with cousins. Now, those, the cousins of the parents, and then he had some cousins there. But guess what? He has more problems with those cousins than he had in school, because the problems that were with the cousins in schools were created by the cousins, who did not feel like they belong. Yes? Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, adding on to what you said, that I feel like now it's like, personally, I feel like I'm more criticized by the Africans rather than the system or like the American people, if that makes sense.
And exactly, and this is where we get it. So the very people he expected to protect him were the one who ignored him, were the one who made his life miserable in the hallways. They made fun, this is his words, of his payless shoes, because his parents were buying shoes from Payless. So they made fun of his Payless shoes. They probably were buying their sneakers or a name brand, because they were wearing Nikes. This child was not wearing Nike. He was wearing sneakers, but sneakers, bought in some other stores because that's what the parents could afford. And they were telling him, you are straight off the boat. They laughed at his accent, calling him names such as African booty scratcher. Right? Believe me, there are so many terms out there by kids in African. You could have a dictionary of those language, but I know you know them because you see them, you hear them, right? Okay. And he says, my mother was still back in Ghana, and my father was busy with his other family. I hated my cousin for making me feel so bad. I hated my parents for placing me in their household. Most of all, I hated myself more for allowing myself to become broken and defeated. And he said, I hated being African. I'm going to skip a few others because all of these are in the same type. So, the one characteristic he had, though, he was able to recognize that within himself. And he got help from a teacher who recognized that this kid was drifting toward, toward the wrong. And that teacher kind of spoke to him. That teacher kind of told him, and reminded him of his background, of who he was. So he hung up and was able to face the challenges, and he ended up graduating from college and living on his own. African professionals face the same issues. Like I told you, I face those issues. Even at Lehman, I have colleagues myself face those issues. You teach Americans, you're in the classroom. These are adults now. We talk about college classes. And you know that at the end of every semester they do evaluation. Just look at what they say about me or others. They delegitimize my position and write in my evaluation that I should not teach social studies courses because I'm not an American. And she said that once she stood in her class and calling and asking questions, one student stood and asked, I want to know why people from Africa are coming here to teach us when they are not American. Right to her face. Right to her face. So, I don't want to continue, talking to you about these challenges and issues because they're real, and I'm sure that you know them. It doesn't mean that we lose the battle. Again, I always think of myself. I always think of the others, many out there, who've succeeded in the US because they persevere. It's because they had character. It's because they had the foundations. They had the family foundations. They had the belief. It's all about belief system, a support system. Hajj Baba can talk to you about it. because his child, I watched a video in which his child was praising and was talking about how he raised them and how they became who they are today because of that family, because of those foundations. They're just like you, coming to this Al-Quran and learning Al-Quran. One of the students described herself as someone who always believed in myself, have courage, determination, and hope, and know that when he works hard, he will always fulfill his goals. It's about the characteristic of working hard. One of the problems is we tend to ignore these issues and not talk about it. But talking about it, in fact, helps. Because now you are conscious. You will be conscious about, okay, I know this exists, but I can overcome it. What I overcame when I first came here, language barriers, spoke no English, even though I did English in high school. But you know, when Americans talk and you don't, there is no way of understanding, right? Like this, and you would say, wait a minute. So when I was doing my TOEFL, so I had to pick up, I had to listen very hard in order to get it, right? But when they talk, you know, you can't get it. It's so fast. I say, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And again, that's one reason why I wanted out of here. But then that perseverance helped. And I was able to find my way and know one step at a time, daily. Go to school, persevere. I sit in a classroom, I would be the best in mathematics. And I would stand, and American and others, you know, guess what? They would not see my blackness. They would not see my African origins. They would not see my Muslim origins. All they see there is this person is smart. And that's the way it should be. This is how you should define yourself. You know, that's all they see. And guess what? That gets carried over. That's how, when I finished my PhD, I was called to this job because they knew me already. They respected me already because of my knowledge. And one thing that you say about Americans, they respect people with knowledge. The different facets of knowledge, they do. That's why everything else is like, you know, a face. It's like painting around the wall. What's important is what's within, you know, and how you rise when there are difficulties, when there are challenges. There are challenges every day with African American, with Hispanic American, with white American. You go to Senegal today, there are other challenges there. You see a family, only one person is working. Everybody else is looking for a job. So we have to feel lucky that we're here. We have to feel lucky that we have a system that helps us. We have to feel lucky that we have our parents who love us, who work with us. Now, a lot of time, again, that misunderstanding between us and you, the children, has to do with the fact of the two cultures and the fact that I'm not home all the time as a parent. I have to leave you in the house to go work as a taxi driver, as a hair braider, as a factory, as a teacher, or anything, so that I can feed you as my children. So it's not that they don't want, they don't want to be there, but they have to be there. Sometimes they have customers until midnight. That's where you earn that trust. What do you do in that house during that time? Doing your homework, cleaning the house, taking care of yourself, taking care of your brothers and sisters. That's how you're going to earn your parents' trust and respect. I never forgot that I'm a Muslim. It's in my vein. It's in my actions. And yet when I walk on the streets, nobody sees it and write on my front Muslim. Because I don't wear what I'm wearing now for this occasion, or I don't wear you as ladies, the hijabi and so on. But within the actions that I do, those actions of high character, anytime, I don't steal, I don't lie, I pray the 5 prayers, I take care of my parents, I take care of my brothers and sisters. When food is presented to me, when food is presented to you, what do you ask? What do you say? Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Or if it is in school and you have food, what do you ask? Is there pork in there? That's the definition. That's something that defines you as Muslim. Right? Or this punch, does it have alcohol in it? Is it halal? Does it have gelatin? It's product derived from pork. So that defines us. That makes us, be who we are as Muslim. So those are actions that we carry, that we do. And that's why when you say the most important characteristic of who you are is being a Muslim, I say I agree. Because you don't carry yourself as a Senegalese unless, nobody sees you as a Senegalese. There are no action that determines that you are Senegalese, maybe except for your clothing. No action that determines that you are from Mali, maybe from your clothing, or from Guinea, or from Congo. However, Muslim, you have action that determines that you are Muslim. It doesn't mean that being Senegalese doesn't have effects or characteristics on you. I asked you earlier, I mentioned Jollof Jollof, Walo Walo, Salum Salum. Do you know what they are?
Islam.
Please, ask your parents what they are, and above all, research it. How do you research it nowadays? Google it, internet, Wikipedia, and you will learn very short. And I did it this morning because as I was writing this, which is completely different, a lot what I'm saying anyway. So as I was writing this, it came to my mind. Why do we say Jollof Jollof? Yes?
People live in Jollof.
Yeah, but why not just say Jollof? But we say it twice. Jollof Jollof. Salum Salum.
Because they want to say.
Bawal Bawal.
Like Jollof is the place, but they want to say Jollof Jollof. I'm Jollof and I live in Jollof.
Where?
It's where they from.
Yes.
Jollof Jollof people.
Yes, I know Jollof Jollof people, but why we say two?
Twice.
Yeah, twice. Why do we say two? Jollof Jollof. Earlier?
Jollof is area. People call
Ah. Okay, Jollof is the area, so the Jollof of Jollof. Yeah, but you don't say Senegalese, Senegalese. You don't say Ghana, Ghana.
No, you say Ghana, Ghanaian.
No, that's still different. But what he explained makes sense. The Jollof of Jollof people, right? So I was looking at it, I said, wait a minute. In Senegal, and this has to do with the regions. Bawal Bawal, Jollof Jollof, Salum Salum, Kayor Kayor, Nyambur Nyambur. You see? So, all right. And I was reading something about Jollof. Did you know that there was an empire of Jollof?
Yeah, Alburi.
Alburi? There's a lot, right? But what do you know exactly? Even myself, I know I've learned it briefly in school, right? But when I was reading it this morning, I said to myself, oh my goodness, I have to go back and learn this again. I'm telling you, it's so rich. The structure that they have, they have ways of how do they call it? They have a power structure in which woman has a very, very, very important role in that power structure. Now, and the structure that they have, so when the white man came and says, we have no civilization, when the white man came and said, we have no structure, we don't know what, who we are, they lied. It was a lie. It is still a lie. Because those structures existed then. In any case, I'm going to conclude. I'm going to make it short. So, there are many things that you need to develop in order to face these challenges. You have to understand yourself. I told you religion is the most important thing, and that's what Imam is doing. I applaud your action, Imam. I applaud your action. I applaud your action. It's not just about teaching Al-Quran. It's also about teaching about life. My children went with Imam Muhammad Mbaye in the Bronx. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Also the way he teaches, I just took hands off. Never say anything. The children love him. Why? Because of who he represents, the same way these children love you and what you do for them. And what you bring is understanding. You help them understand themselves as Muslims, as children who work in what we call a secular society. Have time to talk to your parents in a respectful way. Ask questions. And do not deny them the opportunity to raise you well. So when your parents want to check on things, don't be offended. Don't be offended. You offended because, again, it is that concept of liberty, that concept of freedom that you've learned here that interfere with your system of beliefs from Africa and doing things. So give them the opportunity to raise you well. Accept what they want to tell you. And most students, by the way, say, oh, my parents don't know nothing about school. Oh, my parents know nothing. Don't say that. They do. Listen to them, their advice. Choose good role models. We have role models. It's important. Your imam is a role model. And I know his role model. I know my role model. He knows his role model. Our parents first. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahabas. Read about them. Short lectures. Don't need to spend hours. Just read one page a day about something that they do, that they did. Think about it. How did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to make 2 billion Muslims? He never went to school. He never learned how to read. Never learned how to write. And yet, he wrote the only book that is purely from Allah with no change since the day he wrote it to now. Forever, which is Al-Quran. Which covers every aspect of life. There are aspects you don't understand, but there are as many of these aspects you do. Like having good character, having good morale, respecting your elders, respecting your parents, having good goals. We have other role models. You know some? Sri Tuba, Sayyid Hashmali, Radiyallahu Anhu, Sayyidina Limamullah. Those are great, great, great role models, and we are lucky. Where we're from, Sheikh Omar Futi Utal, Bayas. And you go to every corner in Senegal or in Africa, you will find them there. Now, Today, some people will tend to tell you, haram. Being Tijan, haram. Being Murid, haram. Being this, haram. Being Wahhabi, haram. Two, same thing. If it wasn't for those today, this Al-Quran will not be here. Why? Because what they taught us was go and open Al-Quran, learn Al-Quran, teach Al-Quran. Teach Islam. That's what they taught us. Just like others are trying to do the same thing. And they taught it to us in such a way that when we came here, we were looking for people who were in the same belief system. We gathered together, we opened masajid everywhere in the Bronx and in the United States. Pakistanis do the same thing. Egyptians did the same thing. And so, the African, the Muslim, grow because of that, because of you, because of us coming here as immigrants. Never have low self-esteem, because you, like that child, he had low self-esteem at first, but he was able to overcome that low self-esteem. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have high respect and regards for others, your neighbors. By the way, you have to respect your African American brothers and sisters for who they are. It doesn't matter. They are our brothers and sisters. They opened the doors for us here in America, because when we came here as parents, where did we live? We did not go and live in the white areas. They would have rejected us. We came to Harlem. We went to the Bronx. Children are children, though. In the school, they could say anything they want, but I don't think they mean it. It's just a matter, again, it's the context. And again, you get self-respect, you get respected through your actions, through your character. So, I would want you to please continue in the ways that you've conducted yourself, but I want you to add another piece. And that piece is about research of your identity. Who are you exactly? Because as you know yourself, you will know characteristics that belong to each part of yourself. Yes? Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know who you are. I'm not going to go out there and hang with a drug dealer. No. I'm not going to go out there and hang with somebody who's drinking, or because what may end up happening is you may end up having the same behavior. That pressure will come to you. So knowing who you are helps you avoid those influences or those peer pressure. Stay in school. Be proud of who you are. Stay in school. Do you know how many jobs have been created or will be created by 2020? 165 million new jobs. Astaghfirullah. From 140 million to 165 million. So another 25 million jobs are being created. That's why you have such a low unemployment rate right now. But 65% of those jobs will require at least a bachelor degree, minimum, and training beyond high school. 65% of those jobs. So stay in school. You have jobs in the healthcare system. They will never close. and you have job in STEM. Do you know what STEM stand for? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Make sure to be the best in math, regardless of what you do. It's not because I am one that I don't. You know how to do math, you will never lose. You will always have an opportunity for a career in one area or another. In the sciences, mathematics is the basis for all those sciences. Study math. And don't believe that you cannot study math or you're not good in math. Nobody should tell you you're not good in math.
Like, I know.
No, you are good in math. You just don't know that you are good in math. I know that feeling. What happens is sometimes it's the teacher. My uncle was telling me he never understood math from 1st grade to 6th grade. Never. In 6th grade, he get this teacher. And that teacher defined the rest of his career. He became the best in math in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, all the way. To become a physics major, an engineer, a math major, and everything that he wanted to. He was never good in math early. So you can catch him later on. So you have to understand where you live. You have to understand America. Know that America is America. It has its blessings. It has its goods. It has its bad. You do good, they accept you. And you live with them. You don't do good, they reject you. And I think Senegal would do the same as well. So I wrote a lot more about these things, but I think those were the major, and I will just conclude with practice your religion. Day in and day out. Make sure that that Muslim, that Islamic identity is in you. Not from the outside, but from the inside. For your actions, for what you do. We know, and we've learned all these characteristics from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We know what Al-Quran tells us, but also the hadith about him and how he was a man of the highest of character. I would like to thank Saint Baba for being here. He's the president of HICC, a good man. He was the president of the Jollof as well. That came from here for many years. Very active in the community and very knowledgeable. He's a computer scientist, which is, by the way, the subject of the future: computer science, technology, artificial intelligence. You know what artificial intelligence is, right? It makes cars drive on their own. Everything that you do is like these cameras that, facial recognition and so on. It's about robots. It's all about artificial intelligence. When I see that some of the kids in the schools, right, AI, it's called AI, you can Google it. They start working in this in middle school. They have labs in their houses. While you go and play, what's the name of those Sony games, those PS4 games? There was a game that kids got addicted to lately. Fortnite, exactly. Fortnite. Goodness, God help us. So why would you spend hours and hours and hours in Fortnite when you have homework waiting for you? Things that will take you tomorrow to the future. And this is why that control from your parents are needed. Parents need to have that. And parents need to have that upper hand until you are able to battle and to win against those challenges. So practice your religion and be patient, be tolerant, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, bless your parents. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Imam for what he does for you. I would like to thank our friend and advisor, Babacar Ndaw, also for being here. He's at the center of everything that goes on at the Zawiya over there. And you see, one thing that we learn from our parents, from those role models that I was talking to you about, Sayyid Haj Malik, Sayyid Touba, you see how we are all family. It doesn't matter. We are all family of Muslim. The most important characteristic is being a Muslim. Whether you are Tijani or Murid, or we all come together. When there are events, everybody goes to HICC or comes here. When there are events here, likewise. And you go to Senegal, it's the same thing. And we are lucky in Senegal to have that power base, that foundation. And you have to know about it. It's part of your makeup. You have to learn about it. And you have to perpetuate it. Bring it to your children as well. The same way you would want your children to be Muslim. That's the number one foundation. But then, hey, I want you to know about Sayyid Touba because of who he represented and what he did. That alone. I want you to know about Mbaye because of who he represented and what he did. These people, they fought for you, they fought for me, they fought for every one of us for the advancement of Islam. So that we are better today. And we are better partially because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because of the Sahabas, and because of them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you and bless you. Barakatu Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Bala may jox imam man sama conclusion ci olof laa koy def benn bi samay wax man léeg-léeg duy gudd damay tënk rek benn bi dañuy gërëm docteur Mbaye Gningue vraiment def na fi waxtaan boo xam ne li ma leen di dénk mooy yéen ñi nga xam ne yéen a ngi ci réseaux sociaux yi mooy WhatsApp groupe yi ak